of the best spinners that you've seen in the air that you can remember in your heart? 'Cause
Individual?
I know you're one guy that remembers.
Yeah, I've seen some.
You can give me more than 3 if you want.
I can really. I've seen some really tremendous ones.
I know you have.
But in the recent years, I remember about 3 years ago, I went to Norm Reed's
Okay.
on a fly, and he had a bird in there that was a tremendous, a red checker cockbird that was a tremendous spinner, probably probably 60 foot, blazing speed, big heart, went right back to the kit. I mean, it rolled probably once or twice, maybe even 3 times on an occasion within a minute, went right back to the kit, wherever the kit happened to be at, cut across and go right back to it. It wouldn't circle around, it went right. It was a fantastic
Tremendous.
pigeon.
Too bad he wasn't videoed. Was he videoed, that bird videoed?
I don't know.
Wow. That's
Seen,
what we're going to try to get those birds, Jerry.
that's great.
That's what we're going to try. When you get a bird like that, or you know anybody's got one in the land, we're going to travel to go get it. Okay, Jerry, go ahead and tell us another one.
Seen Dave Goss fly a nice bird, a dun. He had a dun cock in his kit in the World Cup fly in I think it was '93, and that was an extremely good pigeon. It was a 40-foot roller, high velocity bird, and again, both of these birds were cock birds. It was an extremely good pigeon. I seen a good one at Joe Bauer's house. It was a red checker bald, kind of a bald badge bird. It was a hen bird. This one was a hen. It was an extremely good roller. I've seen in the old days, I've seen some terrific ones at Bob Scott. In fact, Bob Scott. I got a terrific one from Bob Scott one time. That was flown. It was a dark checker cock bird, and I even remember its band number, 852. It was raised down out of the 1341 bird that was 514 family.
The superstar bird.
Superstar pigeon, man. And I was lucky enough to get that bird. So those were some of the great pigeons that I've seen.
All right, Jerry. All right.
Are the birds better today now than they were yesterday? What's your
Well,
opinion on that?
I started in rollers in 1969, and I've only. Hold on a second. I've only raised rollers for just the spin, never for the show. And so I constantly, for all those years, have only been interested in one thing: whether or not they can spin, whether or not how to breed spinners, what pairs produce the highest percentage of them. And I can even think back to those days. What birds, and I still remember the pairs that produce the highest percentage of rollers. So the question being is, are the birds better now than they were in those days? As far as the roll goes, a champion then could be a champion today. But this is what has happened in those years, and especially the last 10 years, there are so many more of them. In those days, there were probably 5 people that had good birds in all of Southern California. Now, almost everybody has a bird in their kit that somebody would like to take home that's that good. So what you have is, because so many people have become involved in flying rollers and competition, and they've bred for spinners, that there's a lot more of them now. And what I'm talking about, the percentages, I think a good spinner is a good spinner. And what we need to do as breeders is try to put pairs together that that produce a high percentage of good spinners. Now, I don't think if the spin is perfect, how can you improve on perfect? You can't. But what you can do is produce pairs that reproduce a lot more of them. So the percentage goes up from out of 10 birds, 1 or 2 of them are good rollers to 7 or 8 of them are good rollers. And that's happening. It's happening now.
It's happening today.
And it's happening today. And that's the reason I think the rollers have improved. I think people understand that type is important. So if the roller has the propensity to roll, which is here in the brain, let me tell you just a little side story. Joe Bauer come up to me one day, and we had been looking at pigeons, and he came to me and he says, you know, Jerry, he says, you just can't tell if they roll by looking at them. Now that's a profound statement. That's a fact. You cannot tell if they roll by looking at them. You have to know that it's bred in them.
Go ahead, Jerry.
So what Joe said really has a lot of merit. If you just physically hold the bird in your hand and look at him, you can't tell if that bird rolls or not. You can tell that he's got the body to do it. If he has the propensity to do it, you can tell that he has all the tools to do it with that would make him a good roller, but there's nothing physically that you can look and tell that that bird's spinning. It's a mental thing. And the other part of the bird, even if he has the propensity to roll, does he have the mental stamina to stay with the kit? Roll deep and go back to the kit. Roll deep and go back to the kit. Roll deep and quit. That's the difference. And a lot of people call that heart. You know, if they got big hearts, they roll because they like to roll. That's another thing that we have to watch out about in rollers. We don't want to breed out of roll downs. Those are ones that roll because they can't help it. We want to pick those birds that fly at the front of the kit and that spin because they want to spin. They start to spin. Somebody else didn't start it in the kit. That's the kind of birds that you want to pick from to be your breeders.
Where they lean more towards voluntary.
Now, they volunteer to roll, and by volunteering to roll and flying at the front of the kit, then they pass that trait along down to their offspring. So
we were so sold out back then in the old days about involuntary and involuntary. You know, we wanted them to have a lot of roll in them, and we would breed out of bumpers and roll downs in the old days. Remember?
Well, I think what you have to do is know the difference between a roll down and a bird that bumped on top of the loft coming into land, or bumped coming out of the kit box. What I'm talking about is a roll down that if you throw him up, he rolls down. And that if he lands on top of this loft right here, you can take a stick and knock him off of it and he won't fly. Because he's scared to death that if he does, he's going to kill himself. Now that's a roll down. But you take a bird that bumps, you put him up for a couple days, get him well, put him back in the air, and he takes right off again. The airplanes mess up the video.
Yeah,
He takes right back off again, goes right back to the kit, and rolls and rolls and rolls and rolls. Definitely not a roll down.
Definitely not.
No, this is the kind of bird that you want to breed out. That's the kind of bird you want to select for your kit too. You want to select those birds like that for your kit. Hey, Pete, you want to tell that kid that I got a big dog up there? He's got his ball, so.
Okay, that he has heart.
Yeah, that he has a lot of heart, and if you can say anything about selecting breeders, those are the kinds of birds that you want to select. And you know, I've often seen you go to somebody's house and he's got 40 pair of breeders and 15 birds in the kit box. Something's wrong here. Something's wrong. What's wrong with this guy?
Your puppy's bumping everywhere.
Well, he's got the thing backwards. He ought to have
5
10 pair of birds and you know 100 kit birds or 50 kit birds. He's got it backwards.
Okay.
I mean, you should keep the quality high and the numbers low. I mean, nobody can handle 40 pair of pigeons. I mean, nobody can handle that.
Larry Valencia used to say, "It's not how many you got; it's what you got."
Yeah, you got to keep the quality high. That's a good statement. And a lot of people don't. They end up getting too many pigeons. And it gets pretty stressful when you have too many birds because you know you're not going to be able to breed them all. And what you have to have in order to build this family is a plan. A lot of guys are just doing it kind of catch as catch can. What comes on is what they do. But you got to have a plan, and you got to project this plan out like maybe 4 or 5 years, and say,
We talked about
this year,
about
this
that.
is why I want to be. I want to be here this year, and I want to be here next year, and I want to be here next year, and so on. And you got to have some goals set within those years. And if you're not breeding your family based on the plan that you have, then you're just out there what we call in the police business bumping off the curbs. You're just out there driving around, you know, doing whatever. You don't have a strategy or you don't have a plan, and you've got to have one. You got to know the kind of bird you want to produce. You got to know, you know, what you want to do with those birds physically. You got to know what you want to do with them in the air. You've got to have something planned out. And a lot of people start out with good intentions, but they don't have the discipline to stay with it. They build a plan and they're good for about 6 months, and then you know, they go off and get a bird from somebody else, and another one from somebody else, and another one from somebody else, and their plan is gone to heck. It's gone. It's no good anymore. You got to have a lot of discipline to stay with the plan. And you have to understand, when you start building your family, the first year should be terrific. I mean, because those are the hybrid outcrosses, right? The next year, you're not going to get that hybrid outcross, because you're going to inbreed a little bit. And down when you get to about 4 or 5 years into your plan, you're going to get a lot of good birds. The number of good birds are going to go way up, but the number of superstars is going to go down. But if you know what you're doing, you know now that you've got this inbred family, then you find another inbred family from somebody. Go get a good bird from somebody. All you need is one, and mate those together, and there you go with a hybrid outcross, those super spinners again. And then you start all over. You know, you start the thing all over.
You know, Sal Estrada said something interesting, Jerry, as pertains to what you're saying, that every bird has to have a purpose in the breeding life. He said that every bird has to have a purpose. You know, no dead weights. You know, he only breeds out of 5 pair.
That's a good statement, and Sal must have the discipline to do it, because he's flown a good kit the last couple of years. So
we interviewed him, and he only has 5 pair. He breeds out of 5 pair. He has feeder pairs to foster out the eggs. And he said, you know, Johnny, I think what put me on top here is that every bird in my stock loft has a purpose. No dead weights.
Well, I think what a guy needs to do is have enough discipline. He needs to set a level of how many birds he's going to have, and when he picks one of these pigeons as a stock bird, it has to be better, or he feels that it's going to be better than the one that he has in there. So if you take one out of the kit box to go in the stock pen, somebody in the stock pen's got to go. And if they go, if you set it like that, then you're awful careful about the birds that you select for stock birds. Because you know, if you take one and put it in your stock pen, somebody in that pen has to go.
In the old days, we would keep all the old fossils, huh?
You'd keep them. I mean, and there's no need to keep them. I mean, you know, we're not raising people, we're raising pigeons. Right. A lot of people have a hard time understanding that we're raising livestock and not people. Hawks have got them drove up pretty high, don't they?
You mentioned,
there goes
you mentioned
some
something
kind of
earlier
bird.
that it comes to my mind. You said about the birds that roll from the front. You said something about birds that roll from the front. This is what you look for, birds that roll with quality, but that roll from the front. Do you breed for birds that consistently roll from the back?
No. I don't care how good a spinner it is, if it rolls from the back, then I won't breed that. I think that
Birds are too high.
I think that rolling from the front indicates a couple things. One, it indicates that the bird's rolling because it wants to roll. It's not being forced to roll. And it has a tendency to make the rest of the birds roll in the kit. And that's really what I did with my old family of Pensets, is I selected the bird for the spin and not necessarily for where it flew in the kit. So I had some terrific individual spinners, but I didn't have birds that could roll together. And consequently, I had good individual spinners, but no concert in the kit.
Oh, you would get good spinners that roll from the back.
Yeah. And in my opinion, those birds that roll from the back, I didn't understand that. It took me a long time to understand that. But as more kit competition got going on, I got to thinking that I had to do something in order to compete. Still flew good kits, but I had to look down the road. And down the road I needed to do something to improve my birds in rolling together so that they rolled as a unit. And what I found out in taking a hard look at my pigeons is I had selected birds that didn't fly from the front of the kit. They were usually the deep spinners that were always trying to catch up to the kit, and then they'd roll and already trying to catch up. And consequently, they passed that trait along.
That's
so
interesting, Pete.
that's one of the things that I changed, you know, that was my fault. Not that they couldn't spin really hard; they did. They spun hard.
The Englishmen talked about leaf pigeon. Is the leaf pigeon the one that rolls from the front? Is that what they meant?
You know, you've heard them talk about the trigger
The
bird,
leaf pigeon.
the trigger bird, and the lead
The
pigeon, and all that
trigger
sort
bird.
of stuff. What the Englishmen tried to do and did that the Americans didn't do was that the Americans wanted the long flyers, birds that rolled really deep, and consequently that's what they bred out of their pigeons. The Englishmen wanted this concert of roll. They wanted the birds to roll in unisons. And so what they did, they picked those birds that were at the front of the kit to breed, and that's what we want to do. That's what I want to do anyway. And what you get by doing that is you get those birds, those good birds that have a quick trigger. So when one bird goes, the rest of them hit it too. And what you get, if you have a tendency to have a few birds roll down when they're coming out of the kit box, or roll down when they're coming into land, it's because they got a quick trigger. If something that makes a move or something, then they hit it. But you've got to have that in order for the birds to roll fast in unison. Otherwise, you get the thing that they call the waterfall effect. You get the birds in the front, and it's sort of like the dominoes. That one rolls, then that one rolls, and that one rolls, and that one rolls. And you can see it, and you don't want to see it. You want to see this guy go, and the rest of them hit it too. And that's that quick trigger, and that's what you want. You need that bird up front that starts them, and then you need these birds that have quick reflexes and hit it. And you know, I don't know that this really works, but I remember that Hilton said that he thought that he could tell birds that rolled by looking at their birds in the dark at night, how quick their eyes would retract and expand. And I don't think you can tell if they roll or not, but I do think that you might be able to tell based on, I think he was working in the right direction, but I think he bit off a little too much. I think that you might be able to tell if that bird flexes his eyes fast, that he might have quick reflexes. And if he does roll, and he has quick reflexes, and the bird in front of him rolls and he hits it, that he does it so fast that he can't hold up, so he rolls too. So there may be something to that. I really never pursued that part of it, but
I'm glad you mentioned that.
that's something.
Jerry, you've read the Graham Dexter book for the novices. That's a real good book.
It is a good book.
You've read it, right?
Right. Are you talking about Winners with Spinners by
Yeah.
Graham Dexter from
Listen
England?
up, novices.
Yeah, it is a good one, and the reason that I thought that the book was good because Graham didn't imprint his philosophy on the book. What he did is went and interviewed some of the masters in England and let them give their opinions of the questions, sort of like you're doing here. You're asking me the questions and I'm giving you my answers. He did the same thing, only he did it in written form. And because of that, it lets you draw your own opinion to the questions that are involved in the book. And you'll find if you read that book that there's, you know, there's lots of different ideas on every one of those questions. You know, one guy breeds it this way and selects birds that way, and he's successful. Another guy does it another way, and he's successful. And a lot of times, what you have here is that the guy that is most successful is the guy that has pretty good pigeons and that is an ace trainer and has a lot of discipline when it comes to training the birds. And he's the guy that can cull real good. If he has a bird that doesn't kit, then he culls it. That guy right there may not have a whole lot of birds, but the birds that he has are trained really well. So I think that's, in that respect, that's how come there's can be a lot of different philosophies and still be successful.
Is there another book you recommend for the novices?
Oh yeah, I think
Around the world.
you know, Last of the Greats is a good book. Certainly the Graham Dexter Winners of Spinners is a good book. The Penson book is a good book, but it's not good for novices. Penson assumes that you know a lot of things in that book, and he relates to them, but he doesn't explain them. So after you get some experience, I think that the Penson book is a good book to read too.
The Kowalski book.
The Kowalski book is a good book.
NBRC is a
NBRC
good
is
bulletin too.
NBRC is a national club. Right now, I'm the president of the NBRC. I will be for the rest of this year, and then James Turner in South Carolina will be the new president. I think that belonging to a national club gives you an opportunity, and I think this is one of the reasons that the birds across the country have improved, is that because we have better communications now across the nation. Almost all of us know each other. I mean, we know people in Canada, we know people in New York, we know people in South Carolina, Kentucky, Oklahoma, you know, Washington. We know people everywhere, and people communicate with each other and visit. And the means that they do that by is with a national organization that produces a quality bulletin that puts in there ideas from lots of different people on how to raise pigeons and not politics. And if I've done anything during my tenure as president of the NBRC, that's one of the things that I've hoped that I've been able to do, is encourage people to write articles on how to breed a better roller, how to fly a better roller, and not talk about the quarrels between personalities.
That's right.
I think it's if a new person is getting into rollers, they need a resource so that they can find out who around them is into rollers, who to go see, and that sort of stuff. And they want to know how to fly a young kit, wean a young kit. I mean, that's a lot of information that we've already had, and for the old timers it may not be very interesting, but for the new people that are getting into the hobby, it's paramount. It gets them started off on the right foot. So it's very important. A good local club. You should belong to a good local club. If there's not a good local club in your area, do like you guys are doing and develop a good local club. Keep it small enough so that you can fly everybody in 1 or 2 days, and so that you donate, you know, like in fly season, 1 weekend to the flies a month or something like that. But it's important to belong to a local club, because rollers are really no fun if you can't share them with other people. And what I mean by that is if you can't have somebody come over and see your best spinner, or come over and you know, see what you're doing and enjoy it, and have some camaraderie and stuff like that, then the hobby won't be as much fun.
World Cup.
World Cup, the best thing to happen to the roller fancy ever. The World Cup is a fly that allows everybody, no matter who you are, where you live at, to compete. I know Pete competed last year, first time that he's ever, as far as I know, competed in any fly. Great opportunity to give you a chance to get your feet wet, and whatever you do, don't wait until your kit's ready to fly in the World Cup, or the World Cup may not be there when your kit is ready. Part of this is participation. It allows you to see people and get to know people and be involved in a movement that's going to improve the rollers for years and years to come. It gives us a chance to know one another. It gives us a chance to see one another's birds in different parts of the country. Like recently, a couple years ago, I had an opportunity to go to Vancouver, Washington, and Seattle, and see the World Cup fly up there. I also had a couple years ago to go to Portland and Vancouver, Washington, and watch those guys fly. Anytime that you get a chance to see people from another area fly in competition, means they're putting their best foot forward, whatever the case may be, then you're much better off. You'll have a better insight on how to do things, how to raise rollers.
Thank you, Jerry, for everything you've shared. In closing, who would you like to thank, Jerry? Who would you like to thank? I mean,
Well, I'd like to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to talk about rollers. I'd like to thank everybody that's befriended me over these years. It's a great hobby to be in. It's a lot of good guys in the hobby, and I hope I'm in it for many years to come.
all right.
We're
you
gonna move
wanna
up.
take some
We're gonna move up
pictures?
to the breeding pens in a little bit.
Okay.
We're gonna take a little intermission break.
And then you can elaborate anything you want.
Where's your partner at these days?
Davison?
You on a vacation? How long?
Okay, we're gonna get a first-hand look of Jerry Higgins' stock loft.
Come on in, guys. Take a look.
Oh, you got a lot of trophies up there, Jerry.
Yeah, a lot of trophies.
I wonder if I should take this thing off.
Here's my hen and cock pen. This is where I keep them breaking up. On the left hand is a cock, on the right hand are the hens. Recently put wire floors in here, Pete, and I had cement floors, and over the cement floor I put a piece of 3/4 inch plywood and left it that way for many years so it would stay drier, because it had the cement drew moisture, and that really didn't work out real good for me. So recently I put wire, and that seems to be working out well. Then I have a little compartment outside out there where I can put a bath pan, and they can go out and take a bath out there.
Oh, that's pretty nice.
I have all my birds down, so I only got a couple cocks left in here that I didn't use. Over here is my
Slow, Peter. Slow.
Oh, I like that Spangle hen right there, Johnny. What do you think about that Spangle hen?
Real nice.
I love Spangle birds. Wish I could get her to fly.
So does Jerry.
Oh man.
to say these are stock birds. Like I said earlier, I started about 5 years ago with a new family. Got a little bit of everything involved in them. A few birds from a few Hilton birds, a few Goss birds, a few Pinson birds, a few birds from Norm Reed. This right here is a hen that I stocked this year. Her mother was the black hen that we looked at down below. Super nice spinner, super high velocity pigeon. Really nice one. This cock right here goes back to an old pair of birds that Reed used to own that he sold to Gary Salt. Had a lot of power in this family right here, 778-991 birds. And that's the pair that they go back to. First time I ever mated this pair of birds here, so I got a rookie hen here. Like I said, I got a lot of rookies, a lot of rookies breeding this year. In the individual cages like that, it works out pretty good. Wire floors in there, falls down into these little trays right here, so that keeps them real clean. I got nest bowls, wooden nest bowls, and in my nests I put clean sand, rewashed sand, and cedar chips on top of it, and that seems to make a pretty nice nest. I have 10 pair in here. Here's a half-brother, half-sister mating. This is one of my inbred. We're inbreeding a little bit this year. I flew this hen last year also. This is a rookie hen. That's her half-brother there, Black Magic. Some of them birds got a little bit of a name. It's a black hen and a red hen and a black cock. Remember we talked about mixing up the matings? Over here you see I got a red cock and a black hen. So that's trying to get that blue-black, blue recessive red mix, so that you get the black, which has the fly and which is really blue, which has the fly and the stamina mixed with the other color that has the roll, the red that has the roll and stuff into it. So here's one up here. Here's another half-brother and half-sister mating. This is a cock I raised a couple years ago. Here's a half-sister to him. Same mother, different father. You notice how I've tried to change the type so that they're nice and cobby. Both of them, this cock super fast at about 30 feet. Bred him last year. In fact, one of his in the California Classic, I put one of his daughters in the California Classic.
All right.
How did she do, Jerry?
I don't know if she's still in there. So
Oh, last year's California Classic.
Yeah.
For this year's fly.
Yeah. This is a cock that I raised. The black cock on the nest there is a cock that I raised, I think 3 years ago now. Mated back on to be like a great aunt of his. Nice spinning bird. Here you go. Here is a black and a dun. Still trying to keep the combination going.
What bloodlines are these birds of, Jerry? This
Cock here has, he has several in it. He's got a little, has a little Jackanet, has a little Reed, has a little Pinson in it. He's actually, his father is a red cock down below here and a black hen here. Here. That's his mother and father. This hen's mother and father is this pair right here.
Take a look at that. So you got a youngster right there, huh? Is this the type of birds they would throw out all the time, Jerry?
This pair
Saddle?
throws a little bit of everything. Throws just a little bit of everything.
See how the white spread?
Yeah.
They don't breed true.
Do you agree with that, Jerry?
I think when the gene pool is real deep, when you have a lot of different members of the family mixed up to make the birds,
Anything can come
then
out.
you can just about breed any of those colors, especially when you mix the blues and blacks and saddles and all that together. I think
That's great. That's great. You get.
Yeah, I like birds. You can get blacks out of this pair.
Did they
get
throw out black
reds.
dog wings like that, Jerry? Too?
This up here is a son of theirs,
Nice.
and if you notice him,
Up here?
he is a red mixed wing bird.
Okay, he's on the nest.
And over here is a daughter of theirs, up in the top right-hand corner, and that's a red checker.
Let me see that bird. Which bird's that? On the right-hand side?
Yeah, right-hand side, that's a red checker. And
Oh, that's hard to video behind that wire.
yeah, and the black right next to it is a half sister. So you can get all of that different colors out of them.
Okay.
This is a hen that I flew in my World Cup kit last year. This black white flight hen.
Oh, I seen her.
Really a buzzsaw for about 30 feet.
I've seen her. She's nice.
Super nice spinner. Yeah.
I've seen her.
Yeah.
You got many compliments over that one.
Yeah, I did. I really did. It was really a nice spinner. Outstanding bird in the air. This is a cock that I raised 2 years ago. Be like a first cousin to this hen.
Line breeding.
Uh-huh. Here is his half brother over here. This red cock here is out of this black hen here.
So that
and
black hen up there.
Red cock, uh-huh.
We can always go back to view it and put this together. How deep was that bird, Jerry?
This bird right here,
Yes.
oh, about 20 feet. Between 15 and 20 feet. Nice high velocity pigeon. This is a young hen that I stocked this year. She's a little deeper, about 35 feet, and came into the roll at about 6 months, and flew in the kit the rest of the year.
Jerry, without question, you said some powerful statements today. Powerful statements.
Well, I hope it helps.
You get that top one?
I'm sure it was Jerry.
It's probably too hard. Here's a red checker made it onto a recessive red cock. This cock right here is also out of this pair down here.
Excellent type, Jerry. All the birds have excellent type.
So you're building a family around this pair right over here to the left-hand side, huh, Jerry?
They're
A lot of youngsters out of them
yeah,
breeding
a
now.
lot of youngsters out of them. Uh-huh.
Excellent,
So
excellent.
it's like your hit pair.
Uh-huh.
Kind of lost my voice.
Nice type, huh, Peter?
Yeah. They're all the same body size.
You want to get that last pair over here? Oh, my nice.
So earlier you stated that it didn't matter to you about white or yellow eyes going together.
But you notice that I only have a couple pearl-eyed pigeons, though. That cock right there is one, and shoot, I don't know if I have another one. Yeah, I do. I got another cock, but I got him loaned out to Byron Gable up in Seattle, and that's the only two pearl-eyed birds that I have.
So Byron Gable has English birds, plus he has
Yeah.
other birds also, huh?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
We interviewed Chuck Sellers a while back, and he was telling us a little bit about the English birds.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are nice pigeons. I flew some of those English birds.
How do they
Sure.
compare to the Pinson birds, Jerry?
Well, I think they roll just as good.
Just as good?
Yeah. I think a lot of the birds, those English birds that we got over here, are not necessarily a set family. So consequently, I think there's still, the roll's not set. I think you can still get some roll downs and stuff like that in them. But there's plenty of roll there. Plenty of roll.
It looks like you got a few years underneath your belt right here.
This is the dream team here, huh, Jerry?
A few years.
The dream team here, Pete.
Well, Jerry, we appreciate this interview we had with you today.
That's my pleasure.
It's been nice. We're running a little bit late. Might get in trouble when I get home, but I think it's well worth it.
Okay, Pete. Thanks a lot for coming out.
Okay, Jerry.
Thank you much.
Might as well get Johnny Reyes in there.